Thank you for joining us on our On the Record show, where we talk on various topics and conscious creative content to get us through the day. So join us, leave a like, comment, and join us on our next episode. In today's discussion, we'll be looking at 10 tips for surviving it on your own. And we know the first time, living it solo can be a very daunting experience, can be a thrilling, fun experience, depending on how prepared you are. And there are things that we need to consider and understand when in transitioning to this process. So, in our discussion today, we'll be covering 10 important tips that you should make for the first time if you're living solo. Make it a lot easier. And we know moving into a place of your own for the first time can be very overwhelming. While you finally get your freedom you didn't enjoy when living with parents, roommates, or in college. And you also aren't sure whether you can handle living alone. It's a significant step for sure. So knowing how to deal with the common problems, with such as money worries, repairs, staying healthy, and going forward with some of those plans, and also protecting your new found status. So the first tip is to outline a budget. A budget helps to create financial stability, by tracking expenses and following a plan. A budget is easier as it helps to pay bills on time, build emergency funds and save for those major expenses. And overall, having a budget while living solo puts a person on a strong financial footing for both the day to day and the long term expenses. The second important tip is making an emergency contact plan. Having a plan in place is very important. Make sure that your plan includes knowing the location of the fuse box, the water valve, and other things that might be helpful in knowing if something goes wrong in the home. In addition, having an emergency number list to ensure that someone can come to fix certain issues. So knowing where the um, locksmith number is, and the plumber, the AC repair, the police, the doctor, and all these, having those contact in your emergency number list is important in living on your own. The third tip is taking advantage of free social services or any gifts that someone might give you. When you are an independent adult, living solo, it is okay if you have some help from friends and family members or even the government assisting in food stamps. It'd be much easier to face these issues with someone than facing it alone. So you should take advantage of any programs that may be helpful to alleviate, these financial stress while also meeting persons, who will be able to help with these problems as well. These resources are limited, but we shouldn't allow the situation to allow us to not enjoy the freedom that we have by in living solo, and it doesn't mean that you have to do this alone. The fourth tip is learning some do-it-yourself skills. Everyone should have the basic idea of how to fix some common household problems. Although there's always some projects, we shouldn't attempt on our own. And there's always this warning, don't attempt this at home. Nevertheless, fixing squeaky doors and the toilet seats, it does save some money, and especially if it's something that having the right tool you're able to do on your own. And it also allows you to become more confident in that you are able to do those basic repairs. And it can be a useful skill that can continue in life. The fifth tip is to get to know your neighbors. There are several persons who move into a new environment, and they don't know the person around them, and so if there is any emergency, any situations, they don't know who to call as relates to getting some assistance. And this is a great way to get some support while living solo, to know your neighbors. They're going to ask you, they're going to have similar experiences. They might provide some advice, they might provide some assistance, they might be able to not be strangers, and you'll be able to can relate to them about certain situations. Having people around you, it also helps with security, because there's a chance of um, someone watching out for you if you are able to communicate with them. The sixth tip in surviving it solo is to be able to can practice some basic recipes. And since cooking for yourself, it does or may present some certain challenges, that and this is um, extended if you aren't used to doing this on your own. It might be tempting to go to the restaurant or get some pre-packed microwavable meals. But research has shown that home cooked meals, they offer a better health solution for you, and it may also impact your diet positively. You're able to know what type of ingredients to add, and the proportion as well, and what you then wouldn't be used to, or what you may be also allergic to. The seventh tip in surviving it alone is to develop a routine. Bad habits are easier if we don't have a routine, where if we become comfortable in that situation that we are alone, we then now not try to complete certain tasks. And so we then, in trying to break away and living alone, you start developing some bad habits. So having a routine, though it can be difficult, to get out of, the whole of lack of productivity, discipline is needed in which to be able to can benefit from these good habits. Keeping a check of what you do, your leisure time, your productive time, sleep time, and all that also should be factored into your routine. Our eighth tip is that you shouldn't forget about cleaning your space. So it's always important that whether there is someone, a guest, you should always ensure that your personal space is kept clean. There isn't a mess, and that will also be able to allow you or motivate you to do other tasks. Ensuring that certain chores are done. The bed, the dishes, and all those things. Ensuring that those are done in a timely manner also is important in developing those needed skills to assist anyone in surviving it solo. Our ninth tip is maintaining an healthy social interaction. It can be easy to get lonely, and while you are living alone, especially if you have just moved into a new environment, move away from friends and family. And there's this need sometimes to feel isolated, but however, we should ensure that we stay in touch and have a regular interaction with both families and friends. We can also meet up with families and friends and have an interaction, without the pressure of feeling that you're going back to your castle and your alone will be there. The maintaining contacts is more important than just simple um, helping you maintain the good social skills. This will be beneficial as it will, while you are enjoying your freedom, you are also socializing with those, keeping in touch, trying to make the transition seem as normal as possible. The 10th rule or tip in surviving it alone is to find a hobby, a creative way to pass the time. Being alone at night can be boring. Being alone in a new environment can be boring. So we should ensure that we having something easy to focus on beside work or chores. It helps to keep the boredom away. Ensure that there's some good activities that we participate in that will be able to can pass the time, and it will then get lesser, the loneliness, if we are able to do some activities that will be beneficial to us. And in final, enjoy the independence. There's no point in having this independence if you never really go to enjoy it, or because you're running to others for help every day. If you take the time to learn how to properly work and how to be able to look after yourself, survive, then you will have no problem in living the life the way you want it. So enjoy that freedom, and also follow these tips, and you'll be able to can survive it on your own. So thank you for joining us in our discussion today, in which we looked on 10 tips to help you survive in it solo. Thank you for joining us, and do join us on our next episode where we're looking on other creative content. And